Hey guys, welcome back to the Daily Raid YouTube channel. And I have a new video idea for you guys today. What we're going to be doing is something that I'm going to be calling the Underachievers Club. And basically, what we will do is we're going to discuss um, perhaps different teams, different players who have severely underperformed in this season. This season, obviously, being 2024 2025, and it can be across a variety of different sports. Today, it's football, and in light of the horrible week I've had with that sport, we're going to be talking about my favorite club, Manchester United. Now, this season has perhaps been the worst season in Manchester United's club history. I mean, yeah, we have been relegated before from the top division to the lower divisions, back before the Premier League was even a thing. But given how far we have risen since that point in time, this is definitely the worst season. We're a team that is considered to be a part of the big six of the English Premier League, but 24-25 has proven that we are far from that. I mean, I've listed everything I want to say here for you guys about the season. Uh, Hopefully, you guys like this because I'm going to break down what I believe to be the reason why Manchester United struggled this season, the mistakes we probably made, what are the problems we are facing right now, and potentially what we can do at least to some extent in management and some extent on the pitch to improve that once the 25-26 season rolls around. But yeah, let's get right into it. As of the making of this video, our current league position is 16th place. We're heading into the final weekend of the Premier League. We could end up in 17th place, which is just above the relegation zone. And that pretty much sums up how things have been going. We have gone from a team that perennially finished in the top five to a team that's now fighting for relegation. In the Europa League, we were finalists, and that is partly the reason why I'm making this video, because despite the fact that our club, or Manchester United, the club, known for being a team that has experience in championship finals, has experience in European finals, has experiences on the grandest stages of them all, we managed to lose to Spurs. Now, this is not to discredit what the Tottenham Hotspurs team has done. They've been incredible. All power to Ange Postecoglou. He said he would win in his second season, and he did exactly that. But Spurs hadn't won a trophy, or at least a major trophy, since 2008. 17 years on with a drought, and we managed to lose to them. That is incredibly embarrassing, for one. And the worst part is they did it in the most un-Postecoglou way possible. Postecoglou is known for his attacking style of football. They scored one scrappy goal and then they completely parked the bus against us. It was hopeless. We couldn't create a single chance in those 90 minutes that we played. And yeah, it doesn't really matter that we went undefeated all the way to the Europa League finals. At the end of the day, we didn't get the job done. Looking at our domestic cup performances, we got knocked out in the fifth round of the FA Cup to Fulham. On the back of an incredible win against Arsenal in the penalties, we ended up losing to another London club on penalties, and one that is generally considered to be, well, not as good as Arsenal. In the Carabao Cup, we lost to Spurs. Spurs again had our number. We lost in the quarterfinals this time around. And yeah, we end the season without any trophies, just above the relegation zone, and looking like complete, well, for lack of a better word, as fans, as a club, and as players, I mean, if I can speak for them, we look like complete morons. We've had only 23 wins this season, 14 draws, and 22 losses. Those are not the numbers you expect from a team like Manchester United. And it's not just about the win-loss record for Manchester United. Even if you look at the advanced stats, and I'm not much of a stats person, I pull these off FBref, but we have had a significant drop compared to last season. And last season was considered to be, again, one of our worst seasons as a club. In terms of goals, we were per 90 advanced stats per 90. In terms of goals, This season was 1.08 versus 1.41 last year. Assists 0.76 versus 0.97 the year ago. And even our expected goals, it's 1.34 versus 1.45. It's not, I mean, at least on paper, it doesn't look like a significant dip, but it is at the end of the day. This was supposed to be a season where we would have improved significantly. At the start of the season, it was Eric Ten Hag's third season in charge. The excuse we gave ourselves last year was the fact that the team was constantly injured. We had major injuries throughout the squad, and that's probably why we suffered. But things did improve this season, and that's where I'm going to get into the reasons why this was a horrible season for Manchester United. First and foremost, not sacking Eric Ten Hag in the summer. With all due respect to Eric Ten Hag, even though he got us that FA Cup win over Manchester City in the season prior, we should have sacked him. There were signs leading up to the new season that he was not the man for the job, and it's not anything to do with his tactics. Granted, tactically, he didn't seem to gel well with the United squad, or he couldn't get his tactics across to the United squad. It's more to do with the way he reacted to situations. The guy seemed to be feeling the pressure of being Manchester United manager, and that was clearly evident in his interviews. He blamed everyone but himself when he got things tactically and strategically wrong. He was not clearly losing the locker room, and I mean, he just didn't seem cool and calm under pressure, and that's something you expect of a manager at that level and with those standards and with the money he was obviously being paid. The worst part is we gave him a contract extension and then we sacked him. So that was a loss for the club. And if you guys have been following Manchester United as long as I have, you know that we are in major debt. So there was no reason for us to incur that. Now, I'm not saying sacking Eric Ten Hag was the wrong decision. I believe it was the right decision. We needed some freshness and some fresh start to the club, and doing that helped with that. We saw the impact the interim manager Ruud van Nistelrooy had on the team in those 2-3 games that he was in charge. The biggest issue I feel was hiring a manager immediately after we sacked Eric Ten Hag. Now, this is not a slight on Ruben Amorim. I think Amorim is the man for the job, in my opinion. I think given the right backing, he will improve the squad. It'll take time, but he will improve the squad, and we will hopefully return to the levels that every Manchester United fan hopes we will be at. But he should have ideally been brought in this summer, the coming summer. He joined a squad that had no idea what his tactics were. I've never played in a formation that he is insistent on playing, that 3-4-3 formation. And even in January, we just backed him with one signing, Patrick Dorgu. And Dorgu is a young, talented kid, but definitely, again, not enough time to gel with this kind of a squad. Amorim is a guy who is pretty clear with how he wants to play his football. And if the players are just not suited for that style of play, he was never going to succeed. Of course, at the time that we did bring him in, like every other Manchester United fan, we were hopeful that this team would adapt and learn his tactics quickly, but that just didn't happen. And that comes down to my next point for the reason why this is such a horrible season, and that is the lack of quality we have in key positions. Our team is not suited to be a team that finishes in the top 5 of the Premier League. We do have big names, but those big names consistently underperform every time they're on that pitch. Now, this Europa League run, in my opinion, was an anomaly, whatever you want to say. But overall, as a team, we were pathetic this season. And yes, we do lack quality in certain positions, and I will address those positions later on in the video. But this lack of quality does not match my next point, which is the attitude of the players. There are certain players on this team that have really poor attitudes in comparison to the quality they show on the pitch. When I say poor attitude, I mean they show too much attitude in comparison to how they perform on the pitch. And that is not something you need in a squad like Manchester United. Egos kill everything. And it's not just with Manchester United, it's with any company. If you're working for a firm, if someone is too egotistical and thinks too much of themselves, it's never going to work out. And there are players like that with this club. So these were the reasons I believe contributed to the horrible season we had as Manchester United. But what's wrong with the club as a whole? Now, we can blame what happened on the pitch, we can blame certain decisions, but those decisions all come from one entity. That is the management. There is poor management in this club from top to bottom. Jim Ratcliffe, in a new owner, and we thought things would change. For years and years, we've been complaining about the Glazers, and we've been telling them, "Oh, they should sell the club. Once they sell the club, things will improve." Now, granted, these are still early days in Ineos's ownership, but Jim Ratcliffe certainly, at least from the interviews that he has done over the course of this year, has come into this Manchester United situation unaware of how bad things are. This has been clearly seen in the decisions he's made with regards to the staff in Manchester United, the women's team with Manchester United. I mean, I'm not very well versed with that, but I have heard that he has made some incredibly difficult decisions that definitely have gone down badly with certain fans. And that's because he was unaware of the financial situation of the club. He came in and he was shocked by how bad we were in depth in terms of how we dealt with our finances. We were buying players for ludicrous prices and selling players for pennies on the dollar. It was pathetic the way we were run as a club. And yes, it'll take time. Hopefully, he's the man who can improve that whole situation. But yeah, in terms of management, top to bottom, we are in early days and it is looking really poor. Uh, I mean, and even then, with that whole management situation, you look at the management departures we had mid-season. Um, Dan Ashworth, we had signed Dan Ashworth over the summer to be our sporting director or our technical director, whatever it is. And we hoped he'd be the guy because he'd done it before with the likes of Brighton and Newcastle, two teams that are way above us on the Premier League table right now. He had brought in the right talent there. He'd helped build squads that can compete for European positions in the Premier League, and we hoped he'd have a similar effect here. But then that lack of communication kicked in. The ownership had a different idea for Manchester United. Dan Ashworth had a different idea for Manchester United, and that inevitably resulted in him leaving the club and leaving a gaping hole there. Management seriously needs to be sorted out in order for this club to stop doing the wrong things and start doing the right things. The second issue I have with this club is the attitude of our former players. My God, I love these guys for what they've done on the pitch for Manchester United. And you guys who are watching, for Manchester United fans and football fans in general, know exactly who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Roy Keanes, the Paul Scholes, the Gary Nevilles, the Rio Ferdinands, the Wayne Rooneys. All have done incredible things for this club on the pitch. But the way they act in their punditry it serves to do no more than just irritate and anger Manchester United fans. Genuinely. Their one go-to debate is always the same thing. It's, back in my day, we never used to do these things, and oh, if I was at the club now, things would be different. Newsflash: we are no longer back in your day. It's a new era, a new age. Some of the things you did back in your day just won't fly in this day and age. And all you do now is just complain about your attitude previously and how the players now don't have that same attitude, and how things were better back in your day and now they're completely crap now. It's a continuous cycle of just spewing hate towards Manchester United and building up hate between fans who, well, there are definitely fans who won't be able to think for themselves and will actually take what you say seriously. It's just a cycle of creating hatred, and that hatred is just going to keep bringing United fans down. It's going to bring the players down. It's going to bring the club down as a whole. And I don't know, the pundits just at this point, they really get on my nerves at times. Next up, and the third reason why I think this club is going downhill, is us, the fans. We are completely delusional. For the past 13 years or 12 years or whatever, we have been delusional. We have found reason after reason after reason as to why we are such a bad club. At first, it was the choice of manager. When we moved from Sir Alex Ferguson to David Moyes, we had issues. From David Moyes to Louis Van Gaal, we had issues. From Louis Van Gaal to Mourinho, we had issues. From Mourinho to Solskjaer, we had issues. From Solskjaer to ETH, we have issues. And now, even though he's just a few months into his reign as manager, we already have issues with Ruben Amorim. It makes no sense to me why this guy gets so much hate, or why all the managers we've had get so much hate. And I will admit, I have partly contributed to that. There have been times where I have been so fed up with this club that I do blame the managers. And when we're not blaming the managers, we're blaming the players. And when we're not blaming the players, we're blaming management, we're blaming ownership. Well, this season, we have just proved to ourselves that there is something wrong overall with this club. We have new owners, we have a new manager, we brought in quality players, but we still don't put in performances on the pitch, and even outside in terms of management, there are no performances there as well. At this point, we're just a multinational corporation that's good for minting money, and that's it. That and fans are unable to see that. We are an MNC. That's it. We're not a football club. We don't really do anything right as a football club. And I mean, it's fairly obvious. And again, we will continue this cycle because there are fans who don't understand the situation. They think that there's only one thing wrong with the club, and if we fix that one thing, we'll be back to top five, winning Premier Leagues, winning Champions Leagues, whatsoever. It's a huge problem overall. Our fans are too delusional right now. We need to be realistic moving forward into the next season. Diving deeper, yes, I did say we blame the players a lot, and I guess I'll be a little bit hypocritical here, but we do have certain problem players on this team. I'm going to highlight the three of them, or not even three of them. There's a section, I mean, like a group that I classify as one, and then there are two other or three other players that I feel are currently proving to be problem players for United and probably need a replacement ASAP. The group that I'm talking about are, of course, the loaned out stars. Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford, and Antony. Marcus Rashford and Antony have really found their form after going out on loan, and that's simply because they really don't fit the system with Manchester United's current this current version of Manchester United, to say the least. Antony, I believe that physicality is just not his thing with the Premier League. He needs a more technical style of play, and that's what he's getting in the La Liga, and that is clearly visible with his performances. He's been absolutely incredible over there. With Rashford, I do believe that the complaints about his laziness have been a factor. Even before Amorim came in, he was never the most, hardworking player on the pitch. But don't get me wrong, you have to be hardworking to get to that level to play for Manchester United. But on the pitch, when certain managers asked certain things of him, he never delivered. And finally, there's Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho it's such a weird situation. The guy was absolute class at Dortmund, came to Manchester United, showed sparks here and there, but was never consistent enough. Eric Ten Hag gave him everything. He gave him time to train, to prepare, to get back into form, and he came back and just decided he didn't want to be a Manchester United player. He left on loan to Dortmund, reached the Champions League final, was again exceptional with Dortmund, came back, went back on loan to Chelsea, and he's done nothing with Chelsea. Again, it's a similar repeat with what it was with Manchester United. He comes in, has a few good games here and there, and then he just goes back to mediocrity. And then he goes and tweets stuff and puts stuff on social media like freedom and freedom fighter, whatever sort of memes are surrounding him right now. I mean, the situation with Jadon Sancho is so bad that there are reports and rumors that Chelsea are willing to pay us £5 million to take him back. We gave them an obligation to buy up £25 million. They are willing to take the repercussions of not paying that and paying us £5 million to take him back. The loan players are players that are certainly problems for United and definitely need to go at some point in time. Now let's get to the players who are currently in the squad who are actively playing for us. The first one, and I have harped on about him before off camera, it's Andre Onana. Now, Andre Onana, I feel bad for the guy. He has had a significant loss of confidence since joining Manchester United, and that's partly to do with how he performed in the first season. But even when you compare his performances in the first season, at least in terms of advanced metrics, it's worse this season. We've paid £50 million for him, and he has regressed as a player. Last season, you could give him the benefit of the doubt and say that the defense of Manchester United was a major liability. This season, and I'm doing this from the stats again that I've taken from FPF, he has made more errors that were directly caused by him alone rather than his defense. He has faced 132 shots on target this season compared to 203 last season. In my opinion, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, that means the defense has done a significantly better job of making sure that there are less shots on target on him this season than there were in the previous season. Now, despite the fact that he has faced less shots on target, his save percentage has dropped drastically. Now, of course, that could be also because, again, it's correlated. He has faced less shots on target, which is why he's made less saves. But the drop is 74.9% in terms of uh, save percentage to 68.9, and that is a slight drop, but it's still significant because you paid £50 million for a guy and you hope that he'd make those saves and improve on those saves. He had now. Don't get me wrong. He has had moments of class this season. He's looked like he. There have been games where he has helped United win, or at least draw in this situation. But consistency is key in between the sticks, and that is something that he's really just not providing right now. Next, moving on, we've got Rasmus Hojlund, another player we signed last year, a player we paid around £70 million for, and he's not even at the level of a starting striker. Now, if I'm right, the original plan was to actually have him be a backup and then sign a more experienced striker to play ahead of him. I believe Eric Ten Hag wanted United to splash the cash on a guy like Harry Kane, but because there were doubts regarding what ownership with Manchester United would look like over a year, I think they just decided not to pursue that route. But he's having a real sophomore slump. He's really had a slump in his second season, and his stats purely as a striker are down significantly. Uh, he has taken 31 shots in total this season in comparison to 38 last season. One of the complaints I keep hearing from commentators when I'm watching United matches is the fact that they believe that Rasmus Hojlund is not getting enough service or not getting enough chances to score goals, whether it's in the box or outside the box, whether it is, he's not getting enough chances. In comparison to last season, where we played, I think only 5 more games than we have this season, he's just 7 shot. He's had 31 shots this season in comparison to 38 last season. 7 shots less, and that's it. And only 12 of them have been on target this season compared to 20 last season. There's a huge discrepancy. It's a huge downgrade. In terms of percentage of shots on target, it was 38.7% this season in comparison to 52.6% in 23-24. It's a huge drop. And yes, I get it, he's young, but I mean, even his take on success rate, his ability to take on defenders has dropped significantly from 47.4 to 28.1%. Various factors, I'll admit, could have contributed to this. There's been a dip in overall performance with the entire team, and yes, that could have affected his performances. Maybe he was not getting the passes in the right position. Maybe they were not playing through balls to him when needed. Maybe he wasn't getting the ball in positions where he could take on his defender more successfully. But at the end of the day, it doesn't justify that £70 million price tag we paid for him. We want goals. We want assists also in some cases with our strikers, but he's just not providing that. He needs to be a backup player. He needs to be playing behind a more experienced striker. He's not meant to be a starting striker. And that's just shown by our general performance in terms of getting goals this season. And finally, the third player I have on this list is Alejandro Garnacho. Now, Garnacho, in comparison to Andre Onana and Rasmus Hojlund, his performances have been relatively solid. I don't really have the stats for him because I couldn't be bothered to find out the stats for him. But in my opinion, he's a super talented player. He has the ability to be a guy who could become a top 15, top 20 player in the Premier League. But he has developed a massive ego. The guy is so immature. And more than anything, he has shown this season that he's incapable of adapting to different tactics. The guy's got one move in his arsenal. It's cut in and shoot. To the point The only time he's actually been able to show any passing ability or any footballing IQ and passing IQ was when Amarim made him play the complete opposite position he's comfortable in, on the right wing instead of the left, and he actually was forced to pass because he didn't know how to cut in and shoot with his other leg. He is showing, I mean, he's not showing any motivation to change his game, to adapt his game, to improve his game. He's got his recent comments about how this has been a shit season for United, and how he doesn't understand how he could have played in the previous stages of the Europa League and played only 20 minutes in the finals. It astounds me. It's not like in those previous games when he played, he had a significant impact. Yeah, he was a threat on the wing, but I don't think he contributed that much in terms of goals and assists in the Europa League. Definitely not enough for him to be making these kinds of comments after United's worst season ever. He is just a really immature kid. Yes, he's only 20 years old, and I believe, and I know immaturity comes with that age. He definitely has the potential to improve in that regard, become a more mature player. But if this kind of attitude persists, it's better for United to sell him off, in my opinion. But yeah, again, it could have just been a heat of the moment thing. We just lost a final. It's devastating for players, and he could have just said that because he was angry and frustrated. At the end of the day, though, I hope he adapts better, improves his style of play better, gets used to doing different things other than cutting in and shooting, and his attitude improves. He's a professional football player. Even though he's just 20, 21, there are kids who look up to him, and that kind of attitude is not something you want young kids who want to get into the sport to replicate. Let's get into how Manchester United can improve before the 25-26 season rolls around. Now, these are just ambiguous statements. They're not really, backed by facts and stats. These are things I believe that the club should practice openly, and hopefully they do. Number one is back the manager. Back the manager, not the players. The players have cribbed about the way they want to play and their style of play, and how Amarim's style of play doesn't really fit their style of play, and they look so depressed when they're on the pitch because they're not getting to play the way they want to play. Do that. The manager decides how the system is set, and if the player cannot adapt, they can leave. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is the exact same way Sir Alex Ferguson ran the club. He didn't keep guys on the team he believed weren't willing to play the way he wanted to play, and it helped him stay with the club for 20 plus years. Ever since he's left, and I feel like the players have just gotten way too much power over how a manager treats them, or how a manager runs the team, or the type of style of play they play, and I think that needs to change. Back Amarim, get rid of the players who don't really want to adapt to his style of play, and sign players who will actually fit the system. With that in mind, this entire squad needs a huge overhaul. Yes, we may lose a lot of talented players who could go on to other clubs and perform exceptionally well, but which club hasn't had that situation? Chelsea lost Kevin De Bruyne and Mohamed Salah, and those guys became two of the greatest players in Premier League history. Manchester City recently lost Cole Palmer. Liverpool are now losing Trent Alexander-Arnold. They lost Raheem Sterling in the past as well, who was an exceptional player at times. Arsenal lost Samir Nasri. They lost Fabregas. It happens. We need to accept that fact. We can't just be like, oh, we have to keep our academy players because they're the future and all that kind of stuff. We need to be more open-minded with how we're going to build this team. Then we are financially crippled. If the opportunity arises where we do have to sell academy players in order to recoup that money and to invest in the team and improve the team overall, I say we take it. This squad needs a huge overhaul, and that may be the only way we can do it. That brings me on to my next point with regards to recruitment. I believe Ineos had this policy of signing players under the age of 25 in this first season, and that is a completely ridiculous idea to me. And the reason I say that is because we have a surplus of young talent. Outside of the fact that they signed Joshua Zirkzee and Manu Ugarte and Patrick Dorgu, who are all under the age of 23, our only experienced signings we made this season were Matthijs de Ligt and Messiah Mazraoui, and they're they're what, 25, 26, 27. We need more experience in this team. On the left wing, we've got Alejandro Garnacho, who I've already mentioned is incredibly immature at the age of 2021. On the right wing, we've got Ahmad, who has been great, let's be honest, but was barely used by Erik ten Hag, and now we can't afford to play him more and more games to the point where he, God forbid, develops an ego or worse, gets injured and can't play for us on a consistent basis. We need experience in this team in all positions, and there are ways we can do that. There are free agents we can target. There are players within the Premier League who meet that criteria. And that takes me on to my next point. Sign PL proven players. Given the fact that we finished 16th or 17th, depending on when this video comes out, given the fact that we lost Europa League and won't be playing European football next season, we should not be targeting guys outside of Europe who are unproven in the Premier League. Personally, before the Europa League finals, I was mad for United getting Victor Gyökeres. I so very much believe in this guy's talent. I mean, 122 goals and assists over the last 2 seasons is nothing to shy away from. He would have been an exceptional signing for United, but we don't have European football now. And paying a guy like that is going to cost a lot of money. 60 million euros to Sporting Lisbon, and then he's going to have to command an even bigger contract after that. We just can't afford it. He's not going to get European football, at least considering how we've played this season, for the next 2-3 seasons. And as sad as I have to admit it, we need to focus on building from within. And when I say building from within, I mean targeting PL players who are probably too good for their lower level clubs and could earn like a significant improvement on their current contracts by coming to United and could potentially develop into top players for United. Liverpool did that when they were rebuilding. They brought in Andy Robertson, they brought in Van Dijk, they brought in Mane from Premier League clubs. They brought in Jorginho Wijnaldum from the likes of Newcastle. They built from the Premier League, and that is something I think United will need to embrace. Let's end on who I think United should target. Heading into this transfer season, there will be certain players we need to look at when we need to consider signing. Now, we have problem positions all over. We could use an extra centre back. We could use some more depth in the wing back positions. We could use some depth in the midfield as well. But the priority positions heading into the 25-26 summer are undoubtedly striker, attacking midfielder, and goalkeeper. Striker, of course, is the main focus for us. Like I mentioned earlier on in this video, Rasmus Hojlund is just not cutting it. He is a backup player at best. Worst case scenario, he needs to be sold. And looking at the striker market, considering guys like Victor Gyökeres are out of our list now, and the likes of Benjamin Sesko would be a bit too much for another young talent, and Victor Osimhen wants like £300,000 plus per week, there are limited options for us to consider. First on my list, I believe, should be Crystal Palace's Jean-Philippe Mateta. He's got 14 goals this season just in the Premier League, which is 10 more than what Rasmus Hojlund had. He's 25 plus. He's got experience playing in the Premier League for at least the last 3-4 seasons. And given the situation we're in right now, I think he'd be a great player to have up front. I think he'd cost maybe 30-40 million pounds. And for a striker of that quality, given his Premier League experience, I believe it's worth it. The next player we should target in terms of strikers is Liam Delap. Liam Delap recently got relegated with Ipswich, and he's got a relegation clause of about £30 million. He is a young player, but he also, with an Ipswich team that underperformed way more than we did, managed to score 12 goals. And hoping that the quality of the team around us improves over the summer, he would be a good player to have in there as well. Now, the third player, and although I did say we shouldn't target European signings or players who are outside of the Premier League, this guy would be a great signing simply because he's on a free. And that is Lille's Jonathan David. I have been going on about Jonathan David in football groups I'm a part of for a really long time now. With Lille playing in Liga, where it's practically dominated by the likes of PSG and to an extent the Marseille or previously to the Marseille and Lyon clubs in Monaco, He's managed to score 23 goals in all competitions this season, and that includes the Champions League as well. Now, the fact that we don't have Champions League football might be a reason why he may not choose to join us, but he's definitely an option we should consider simply because he is available on a free transfer. The next priority position is, of course, attacking midfielder. Attacking midfield, we actually have one that's about to go through, hopefully within the next coming of weeks, and that's Wolverhampton Wanderers' Matheus Cunha. I believe the fee is about like £62.5 million. In my opinion, that is a bit of an overkill. Last season, although he showed some flair, it didn't compare statistically in terms of what he did this season. And prior to his 2 seasons with Wolverhampton Wanderers, he really never did anything of note with the likes of Hertha and RB Leipzig and Atletico Madrid. But we are banking on the fact that he will replicate his form from the 24-25 season in the 25-26 season, and that's why we're willing to pay the release clause he has of £62.5 million, and it should work out. I pray it works out. He had 21 goals and assists last season, and hopefully he can replicate that. The next guy I believe United should really target, who's available for actually the same amount as Matheus Cunha, about £60-70 million, is Brentford's Bryan Mbeumo. At the age of 25, this guy's been class for Brentford. 26 goals and assists this season. I think he's Brentford's top scorer as a right winger. Now, the right wing is the position he prefers to play, but I do believe he has the ability to play a little further inside that attacking midfield role, at least off the right. He'll be a great signing for us, and I think that double-headed combo of having Cunha and Mbeumo would be absolutely exceptional for us if we could bring up that signing. Now, considering if we consider funds are going to be an issue, and we can only make one of the 2 signings, which is Cunha or Mbeumo, a cheap option for United would be again another guy from Liga, and that's Rayan Cherki. Cherki had some good moments against us with Manchester United, against Manchester United in the Europa League quarter-final, and he has a gentleman's agreement with Lyon, the club he represents currently, that allows him to leave for like somewhere between 25 to 30 million pounds or euros. I really don't. I mean, I'll put up the actual figures here, but he has been exceptional for Lyon, their best player by far this season. 31 goals and assists in all competitions. He's only in his early 20s. One for the future, and I think he'd be a good player to bring in if we can. So Rayan Cherki finishes out that attacking midfield spot. Finally, with goalkeeper, I really don't think we're going to be replacing Andre Onana. The money he's making and the amount we bought him for, we will definitely not be able to recoup that cash if we choose to sell him, which is why we should probably look instead to replace Atali Bayandil. Bayandil had that one good game against Arsenal, but then when he's been called upon against the likes of Newcastle and Brentford in the Premier League, he's not been up to par. If we want someone who can actually challenge Onana and maybe motivate the guy to perform better on the pitch and put up some incredible performances, and Bayandil is just not that guy. There have been keepers we've been linked to over the last few weeks. In my opinion, the priority should be Torino's Vanja Milinkovic-Savic. Milinkovic-Savic is familiar with Manchester United. He was a United youth player at one point, but unfortunately couldn't get the permit to continue playing in England, and that's why he left. His stats, at least last season for Torino, are significantly better compared to what Onana has done this season. Considering he knows the culture in Manchester, knows what it's like to be a part of a Premier League side, I think he'd be a good player to bring in to provide Onana with some competition. Next up is a guy who's been confirmed to be leaving Aston Villa on a free, and that's Emiliano Martinez. Martinez has caused a lot of heartbreak for United fans over the years, and as a guy who was actually against Argentina in the World Cup, he gave us a lot of heartbreak there, or gave me a lot of heartbreak there. But he is a proven talent in the Premier League in between the sticks, and he's available on a free at the age of 31. It makes our goalkeeper department a little bit old, but that's completely fine. I think goalkeepers, at least young keepers, to an extent, keep popping up here and there, so they could be replaced in the future as well. So Emiliano Martinez is a guy to definitely look out for. And finally, we've got Joan Garcia. Now, I really don't watch much football outside of the Premier League and outside of Manchester United. But Joan Garcia is a guy who has been making the moves in and around the rumor mill, and that's because he's performed exceptionally well for Espanyol. He's 24, uh, on the verge of turning 25, so you can't really call him a young player. But he is definitely young in terms of goalkeeper ages. Goalkeepers generally go on to play at like the age of 36, 37. Look at guys like Neuer and well, Neuer. But yeah, Joan Garcia, young Spanish keeper. United have experience making young Spanish keepers all-time greats. All hail David De Gea. But yeah, Joan Garcia would be an interesting selection for us. But I do believe he's being linked with other Spanish clubs. So yeah, these are players I believe we could target. And yeah, guys, at the end of the day, United really need to change everything with the club, top to bottom. Forget a new stadium. Invest in yourselves as a club first. Improve the surroundings there. Uh, Improve the players you bring in. Improve the kind of culture you're building in and around the club, and then think about all the monetary and fictional and fictitious things. I mean, what am I saying? The monetary stuff and the physical things you can improve around the club. But yeah, I think I've rambled on really long in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you like this concept of the Underachievers Club, let me know another team in any sport that you'd like me to cover. And yeah, we'll get into it. See you guys in the next one. Peace.